Well, I'm absolutely shocked that I'm a black woman because I always thought I was a white supremacist. I'm the wrong type of black because I refuse to be a victim. Their forefathers fought for this country so that they could have a better opportunity, only for their great, great, great grandchildren to be going against everything that they fought for.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Nick Talks. This episode's amazing guest is someone you may have heard of if on YouTube, and it's Based in Boogie. How are you doing?
I am doing absolutely fine. How are you today?
I am good, and thank you so much for popping on my channel.
That's okay. By the way, it's based on Bougie.
Boogie, not Boogie.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm a man from the disco era, so once I read that, I've just automatically said Boogie.
Most people say yeah.
Um, I wanted to chat to you today about several things. The first thing is obvious. You're a young black woman. I'm not sure if you know that. I'm not sure if anyone's told you that, but you are a young black woman. And I've seen some videos where, obviously, to begin with, people might ultimately look at you and go, "Do you know what? I bet she's woke. I bet she's full of victimhood. I bet she's always going on about slavery." Because we've met many young black women who only ever talk about that. And when I've watched some of your videos, you're the complete opposite. So we're going to get into your videos in a minute, but before we get into that, I just want to understand a bit more about you. In a couple of minutes, who are you? Roughly, well, what city you're from? What's your background?
Yeah. Well, I'm absolutely shocked that I'm a black woman because I always thought I was a white supremacist. People call me a white supremacist. I'm like, how did you know I was white? No, I'm joking. Yeah, so basically, I grew up very conservative. My dad's a pastor. My parents come from Congo. People are not aware, but well, most people are aware, but Africans, we have a very conservative culture. But because I grew up in a very liberal socialist education background that we see today in our schools, I became very liberal. So I was one of those black girls that complained about slavery and BLM and everything's the white man's fault. But it wasn't until I decided to take my faith more seriously and I started to really dive deep into the Bible and what scripture says about race and how race is pretty much non-existent. There's no skin color in the kingdom of God. And, even when you go into the book of Proverbs, it talks a lot about just work ethic, work, 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 work. Don't make excuses, use your head and your mind. That's when I started to realize that what I was seeing in the media, what I was hearing in school, and just what I was seeing around me was the complete juxtaposition to what the Bible was telling me about work and success. So from there, I think that's where I kind of unlearned a lot of what I learned. So now I've always been quite creative online. I've always been a content creator. So I've just kind of combined the two, which is just teaching people what I've learned, but also trying to make it a bit funny and witty. Because my target audience is mainly young people. And what I've realized with young people is that we have such a low concentration span because we grew up in this very like TikTok generation. So I try to make my videos very straight to the point, funny, but at the same time get the message across because the young people are the future. So yeah.
Yeah, and you're right. We do need to get these messages across, and we can blame young people for having a short attention span and this and that. But there's no point moaning about that. We've got to make sure they get the message, and if it means we've got to do it in a certain way for them to get it, then we have to do it. It's as simple as that. Now, I watched a video of yours a few days ago, and you was at a protest. I can't remember what the protest is now, but you went up to stand up to racism, and you've got a gentleman filming you, but you've got a microphone in your hands, and you're trying to find out why the left wing people that stand up to racism, why they're there, and what they're campaigning against. You were very polite, very well presented. You just said, "Can I ask you why you here?" And straight away, they took that question as offensive because in their minds they went straight away, if you don't know why we're here, then you're part of the problem. And they looked at you, and just looking at you knocked them silly because they're looking at a young black woman and they're going, I I think all black women are oppressed, and you're a young black woman. And how do I ignore you? Am I racist if I ignore you? And I can't tell you to F off because then I'm a racist. And you could see these things going round in their minds. And then when you started saying to them, are you not going to talk to me? Because I'm just a black oppressed woman. and no one gave you an answer. It was one of the funniest things, and you've just got this straight face with a slight grin on it, and you just kept making me laugh. So tell me about that, because you've been to lots of those demonstrations.
Yeah, so what's so interesting is that I think the reason why they ignored me is because they've started to recognize my face and they understand that I'm becoming very problematic to them in the sense that I'm completely dismantling their whole racist victimhood agenda. So when I first used to go there, they all were very open to interviews because again, they just assumed this is a black woman, she's probably a victim, she's probably a part of BLM, let's just talk to her. Until I start to dismantle them, until I start to post on social media, now, when I go, they either ignore me or they'll tell me, I've seen your videos, I'm not speaking to you. Now, the hypocrisy of all this is that these are the same group of people that was screaming at the top of their lungs that Black Lives Matter. They were screaming at the top of the lungs that Black Lives Matter, Black people are oppressed. But if a Black person decides to challenge them, or if a Black person has a different point of view, then all of a sudden my life doesn't matter, my questions doesn't matter, my concerns doesn't matter. So it just goes to show their inner racism within themselves that if you are not a good N-word, literally, if you're not a good N-word and if you don't obey my instructions, I will not entertain you. And I think that's absolutely disgusting. Now, when you contrast that to the right, people think I'm being biased towards the right. No, I ask people on the right the hard questions. I ask them, are you a racist? Do you think I should be deported? What do you think about white grooming gangs? They're all open to answer. They're so open to answer. They're so open to talk. They're so consistent in their views. They believe in what they're talking about. Whereas on the right, they're so rude. They can be quite violent as well. They're so hostile. So almost shows as though they have something to hide. And what they have to hide is a lie. They are lying. First and foremost, let's be for real. They're not there because they want to be there. They're probably being paid. Okay. Let's also be real about the fact that they do not believe that migrants deserve homes because if they did, half of them would be housing the migrants in their homes. Second of all, they don't believe in equality because if they believed in equality, they would give me the opportunity to, you know, for them to answer my questions. Again, like you said, I go there politely, I go there with respect, and I give them the opportunity to convince me otherwise. That's my job as a citizen journalist is convince me otherwise, and maybe I can lean more to your side, but they don't. So yeah, the hypocrisy of these people to talk about racism and equality and Black Lives Matter, but the minute a black person decides to not be a good N-word, they refuse you.
Yeah, the simple answer is you're the wrong type of black. That's
It's sad.
Yeah, it's as simple like you're the wrong type of black, and we don't want your types of black here. Now, what I know, go on, sorry.
Sorry, and it's so insane because the reason why I'm the wrong type of black is because I believe in the Bible. I'm the wrong type of black because I refuse to be a victim. I'm a wrong type of black because I believe in work ethic and not sitting down and complaining. I'm the wrong type of black because I converse with people who are different skin color than me and believe that they are equal. I'm the wrong type of black because I believe that, the white English race shouldn't be eradicated. Is that what makes me the wrong type of black? It's disgusting in my eyes. Sorry.
And I think another thing that makes you the wrong type of black is you think for yourself.
Exactly.
And the things you think may be wrong, because what do we know what's right and wrong? But the fact you think for yourself and you will not be led down the path, and the fact you won't be indoctrinated and propagandized to, makes you the wrong type of black, because they only want people who will basically do as they're told.
Obey. That's literally it. And there's nothing to me that's more racist than that, honestly. Mm.
If we're talking about racism, then let me ask you this, because the video I watched the other day, the group of people you were trying to engage with, let's say there's about 50 of them, all I could see on camera. And out of the 50 of them, 49 of them are white. And one person who's being quite aggressive to you, he had an accent, and I would say he was probably Middle Eastern. So he looked white until he opened his mouth and he had an accent. So we've got a young black woman trying to interview people about racism, and they all look white, and only one of them had a foreign accent. And it's like, and you said to one of them, why are you all white, and why is it not black and brown people? If racism is such a big problem in the UK, why aren't the black and brown people in this protest? Because surely they should be here. And again, no one dared answer that question. Silence.
Exactly. It's absolutely insane. And that's another thing I noticed is that the people that they are defending, they are not there. They're probably at work. They're probably with their parents. They're probably at home. Funny enough, in my recent video, you may not have realized this, but as I was recording, there was a black woman who walked past and she was very angry. She said, "All these people are just here for clickbait." So the black people understand that you guys are just doing this for clickbait. Well, you guys, and this is the part that's very, it's quite sad to watch, is the fact that many of these people are white and yet they are oppressing their own culture. You know, their forefathers fought for this country so that they could have a better opportunity, only for their great 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 grandchildren to be going against everything that they fought for. And then you have, God forgive me for saying this, but the black people, the Caribbean people, they're actually out working. And then you have these white liberals completely advocating for the eradication of their own culture. Like, who taught you to hate yourself? Who taught you to hate your? It's so strange to me. But yeah, again, it just goes to show that they're just virtual signaling in the sense that they don't generally believe in what they are doing. They don't believe it, because if they did, we would be seeing it.
Yeah. I wrote a book on this. My latest book came out a couple of months ago. It's called Anglophobia. And one of the chapters is about why the British middle class, why a percentage of them seem to hate their own country and hate their own citizens. And I come to the conclusion in the book, it's because of poor mental health. And I start naming the syndromes, I start naming the conditions and showing you parts of the official syndrome. And I start linking it to, look what they're displaying, look what they're displaying. And to answer the question why they're doing it and why this is about racism for them is because these so-called university educated white liberal so-called elite are fighting racism is because they look upon black and brown people as children. And if we don't stick up for them, and if we don't fight for these black and brown people who are just not as good as us and are not as clever as us, if we don't support them, if we don't fight for them and their rights and look after them, then they're not going to be successful. And I'm doing it for them, and I amazing that I'm doing it for these children. Now that's bloody racist.
It's so offensive. It's so offensive to me. I don't know if you saw, there was this one clip of this white woman. I asked her the same question. Why aren't the black people, the Asian people out here? She goes, it's because I have white privilege. I said, so you mean to tell me that I don't have enough intelligence to go out and speak out for myself? Do you really think I'm that dumb? Do you really think I'm that inferior that I can't go out and speak out for my own issues and I need a white savior to do it for me? That's absolutely insane. And when you again, when you contrast that to people on the right, for example, whether it's the Dan Wootons, whether it's the Liam Tufts, whether it's people with huge platforms, they let me speak. They don't tell me what to think. When we go for an interview, they say, based on Buju, whatever you want to say, just say it. They let me think because they actually believe in me. And that's the type of people I want to be around. I want to be around people who believe in me, who encourage me, and don't just like baby me. It's funny enough because I actually wrote this tweet earlier on today that says socialism is that the idea that you are so is the acceptance, sorry, that you are so lazy and you are so incompetent and you've accepted the fact that you are a fool, that you need someone else to hold your hands through life and support you. That's what we are seeing with the stand up to racism mob. They basically believe that ethnic minorities like myself, we are incompetent and we need someone to stand up for them. And to me, that's the epitome of racism.
I've seen this with different groups over many decades. I've seen it with people who think they're helping rough sleepers on the streets, and will go out and give them food and drinks and sleeping bags, and will chat to them and then take photos with them doing a selfie. I'm with the homeless person. And they're doing it because it makes them feel better. They think they're fighting a cause, and I'm looking after this person, where it's always about them. It's always about them, virtue signaling their peers, saying to them, you're such an amazing person. You go on demonstrations fighting racism. You must be an amazing person. And it's that validation why they're doing it. Let me ask you this. Some of the, I won't say confrontations, but when you're asking some of these questions to some of these people, you're not asking them the question like a gotcha. You're trying to ask a simple question to engage you in debate. I can see what you're doing, and some of them just ignore you, which is their right to do.
Yeah.
but some are very nasty to you. And I got the impression sometimes where it's getting close to assault. Is that, am I exaggerating? Have you been assaulted? Do you ever feel threatened?
No, the most that happened was what happened in the last event where I came up to the woman so nicely. Again, I don't understand why she was so angry. I said, "Would you be open for an interview?" And she started to like push me away with her hand. I'm like, what's the need for that? Like, what's the need to even touch me? I haven't touched you or anything. But again, it just goes to show that they have something to hide. When you truly believe in what you believe in, you can speak about it openly and confidently. Again, I spoke to someone on the right and he was a 15-year-old boy. I put the microphone in front of him and he was able to just start singing about why he's here. Whereas these people, they are so aggressive, they're so hostile. And the reason why they do that is because they know they're guilty of something. And they don't like the fact that there's a black woman who refuses to obey to their commands. So that's why they begin to act very, very hostile.
You'd imagine that if me and you was on a demonstration for whatever the cause was, and we're trying to highlight this cause and push back against someone, you'd think if someone came up to me and you with a microphone, we'd be going, fantastic. I can now get my message to more people. This is going to go on the internet or on the last thing we'd do is like, don't want to talk to you. What? No. If you're on a demonstration and you're trying to get your messages out there, you want as much publicity as possible. The fact they don't, you're perfectly correct. They've got something to hide. Mostly they don't know why they're there. They're being paid to be there. And they also know that what they're standing for, they know they can't defend it. They believe it to be true, but they know they can't defend it because they've tried before. So therefore, I don't want to talk to anybody. It's pathetic.
And another thing is that I've spoken to some people and I can tell their heart is in the right place. Like, I'm not going to be biased. There's some people you can tell their heart is in the right place and they think they're doing the right thing. But what the way they're going about it or the way they've been taught we need to go about this is absolutely not correct. And obviously that's that opportunity for me potentially to educate them or for them to potentially educate me. You know, I know a lot of people think that what I do is these I got you moments. Yeah, it can be hilarious at times, but at the same time, I genuinely do want someone to convince me otherwise. That's the whole point of being an independent journalist. You have to look both sides of the playing field. If I just sit here and support the right, the right, the right, the right, the right without even listening to the left, that would make me a hypocrite. But the fact that they don't want to speak, most of them, it's like it's absolutely absurd. It's like they don't want to be challenged, and it's like they're on the microphones screaming at the top of their lungs, chanting to the top of the lung. But the minute you come to them, ask them a question, they are mute. It makes absolutely no sense.
No, it really doesn't make any sense. So I'm glad to hear that you haven't been assaulted, because I wasn't too sure what was going on and how bad it had been previously. So I'm glad that's not happened. What are the things you're taking away from this as an individual, as a reporter? What are you learning along the way about you, about life, about the UK?
Mhm. Well, the first thing that I'm learning is that this country definitely is turning into a socialist, Marxist country. It's very, very obvious. I spoke about in Liam Tuff's platform that how socialism works is that you have to, first of all, uh, the government has to be in control of everything. Okay, we're seeing that with the digital IDs now. We're seeing that with the Online Safety Act. We're seeing that with the whole inheritance tax. The second thing that you do is create a scapegoat. Okay, you have to say that a certain community is the reason for all your problems. We've seen that in South Africa. They're telling the South Africans that the reason to why the farming is not doing well and why they're not successful is because of the white farmers, and it's not them, it's the establishment, and they're doing that with the native English people. So there's definitely this push for socialism and Marxism, and I wish people could wake up to this because, again, my parents were raised in a very socialist, well, a Marxist country, Congo. I don't know why the hell it's still called the Democratic Republic of Congo. There's nothing democratic about that, and it's dangerous. It's scary. You could get arrested for criticizing the government. You could be killed for opposing the establishment. And we're seeing that right now today. Like, and I really encourage people, put race aside, put your hatred to Tommy Robinson or Katie Hopkins aside, put your hatred for white people aside and ask yourself, we are living in a time where you could be arrested for tweets. Katie Hopkins is currently maybe facing jail time for calling herself a spaz. That is a very totalitarian, communist, Marxist, just very satanic as well. time to live in. So that's what I'm waking up to, and I want especially younger people to wake up to that too, because they are the future, and if they can push back against this, then at least we have some hope.
Yeah, the latest reports I'm seeing and questionnaires and things, young people now are beginning to reject socialism and are pushing back because young people always push back against the orthodoxy. Now, because we're a socialist country, the new young people coming through are beginning to rebel against it and are looking at being more conservative, looking at voting for Reform UK and things like that. So I think the young people are going to be on side. I think they're definitely going to save us as time moves on. But I completely agree. We've turned into a socialist country. The state's massive. We can't do anything in this country now without the state's involvement. They tell us what to eat, how much we can drink, if we can smoke, where we can smoke, where we can go. During COVID, they told us what shops we could go in, what we can buy, what we can't buy. We're now looking at digital ID. 10 years ago, I would have supported digital ID because I would have looked and thought this is great for cutting down on crime, cutting down on fraud. We can trace people. This is fantastic. But COVID changed my mind, and I think to myself now, I don't want a government to have that much power on me because I never thought we would turn out like this. I thought we were too clever and too sensible. But any government can overreach, and we're watching all our governments do it all the time, and it's scary. Hence why we need to be independent people in this country. I want me and you to be kings and queens of our own families, our own houses. I want us to make all the decisions for our lives. I want me and you never to really come in contact with the state because the state should be that small. We never come in contact with it because everything's down to us. And if we make mistakes, that's down to us. And if we have great lives, that's down to us. But having the state make all our decisions for us. And I spent a decade working for local government. I've seen the incompetence. I've seen the fact no one cares. I've seen the unprofessionalism. You don't want them making decisions for your life. I'm telling you that now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I actually work in that industry. Obviously, I can't say too much about it, and I can tell you these people don't care. Their main drive has always just been money, money, money. And why would you want that control over your life? And not only that, it goes against our very Christian British values. Okay, the Bible preaches about liberty. The Bible preaches about independence. Go out and create something for yourself with your own hands and feet and brain. Whereas socialism, on the other hand, it pushes this idea that the government should be doing everything for you. That to me sounds like the Antichrist. It really does. That does not sound Christian. That sounds very, very demonic to me. Like, why should the government have that much access to my life? Apparently, these digital IDs, they plan to track every little thing of your life, meaning how much bread you buy, how much petrol you put in your car. Now, obviously, that's scary for someone like me because if I go out and I make my stand up to racism videos and the government doesn't like it, they can prevent me from buying bread. They can prevent me from topping up my car. It's scary.
Mm. No, yeah, it absolutely is scary. And again, it doesn't mean this government would be scary. It doesn't mean the next government would be scary. But how do we know what the government after that's going to be like?
Exactly.
And if we've given them all the powers to do these things, eventually a government will use those powers to stay in office, to gain more power, to make more money, to control us. Of course, humans are flawed. Humans are lazy and evil, and we do nasty things. Of course, someone down the line is going to use these tools for their own benefit. Of course, they are.
Exactly. It's definitely going to happen. And I feel like this digital ID thing is going to be so vicious, so, so vicious, especially to those people who love their liberty, who love independence, who love to go out and create for themselves and speak up for themselves. And again, it's just the absolute juxtaposition to British values. British values has always been about independence and liberty. That's what my parents escaped to Congo for. They came here for that independence and liberty just for the country that they escaped to turn into the country they escaped from. The scary times we're living in.
I mean, that's the irony for many migrants and many children of migrants. They escaped their countries from the third world to come here for a better life, got it, and now they're watching this country turn into the hellhole that their parents and grandparents escaped from. And it's like, this is like, this is bizarro world.
And now imagine watching their own grandchildren and now supporting this evil. their own grandchildren. And that's why I'm so grateful for my parents, because my parents always remind me, you better be grateful for being here. You have no clue what your life would have been like if you stayed in Congo. You better be very, very grateful. But again, I feel like, obviously we're seeing this breakdown of families where not only is dad at work, but mum is at work. So now kids are literally just being raised by what they see on TikTok and raised in what they see on social media. So parents can't even sit down with their children anymore and actually explain to them, by the way, when I grew up, this is what happened, this is what it looked like, this is what you should avoid, this is what's coming. And that's what's heartbreaking.
And socialists always do this. They always attack God and they always attack the family. And that's why our family's been crumbling in this country for 50, 60, 70 years. And that's why we're not a religious country mainly now, because the socialists put an end to those two things. Because if you've got a strong God and you've got a strong family, you're very hard to control.
Very hard to control. And I think that's why the left hates me, because from young, my life has literally always been God and family. It's always been church and then my family right after that. I don't know anything else outside of that, except my YouTube, of course. So that's why it's very hard to control someone like myself. Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on my channel today, because I'm always a big kid being accused of talking to old white men. And I invite lots of people on my channel, but some of them just say no or don't get back to me. And you got back to me within, I think within 40 minutes, you got back to me going, I'd love to, Nick. So thank you so much for coming on. And now I can say, well, I can't be a racist because I've had a young black woman on my channel, as if that matters, as if who cares? I'm only making a joke. But everybody, they need to follow you. So if you send me some information about all your platforms and stuff like that, I'll put all that in the description of the video. And they can find you on YouTube, on Twitter, on everywhere. But go in the description, click the links, and make sure you follow this black oppressed woman, because she needs it.
I need funding, guys. I need my reparations.
Any last words from you before we go?
The last words I would give to people is just focus on God. God is what will lead you to the truth. God is what will lead you to the light. Do not focus on social media. Do not focus on what you see in the world. The world is the devil's playground, and the more you allow yourself to be indulged in the things of the world, the more you'll be led astray. That's what I would say.
Excellent way to end. Thank you so much for coming on the channel, and let's do this again in a couple of months, and we'll see where you're up to then.
Yes, I would love that. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks.